G'day and welcome to Kenty Blitz, your daily hit of NRL news. Kenty, back another week.
Yeah, we're getting through it, aren't we?
Ready to go? You look relaxed this week.
I had a good weekend. Yeah, mate. Yeah. Plenty of rest.
Plenty of rest.
Got me a new shirt.
And recruit. Yeah, we're very new.
Yeah, another black one, so it fits like all the others do. So.
Very good.
Anyway.
Mate, big show today. Let's start it off. We're talking about Penrith from the top and 7 wins in a row now. We're asking, are they a chance to be premiers?
Yeah, I think it's worth having a look. Look, as we spoken about before, you get through the origin period, that's when teams start to really sort of knuckle down and fine-tune their premiership campaigns, their finals campaigns. And Penrith have been doing it better than anybody, 7 in a row. And it's got to the point now where they're in 6th spot. Are they a premiership threat or not? And I think, look, normally you'd say no, Warren. Look, in the 5 years, the previous 5 seasons where they've made the grand final, they've won the past 4. They've either been first or second at this time of the season. Okay. Now, if you go back, the only team that, and generally, every grand final team in that period has been first to third, except Parramatta in 2022, I think it was. And Parramatta came from 6th spot to make the grand final that season. Now, that said, I don't think they were any match for Penrith when they finally got there. As big as the effort was to get there. So can the Panthers do it? I don't know. What I really like about the way they've been improving is their attitude in defence. And less than the attitude, I suppose, is that the understanding that's come through the team. We saw a lot of players at the beginning of the season that were confused about how to defend the Penrith way, but they've all it seems like they've all cottoned on now. So
a lot of questions earlier about Blaze Talangi and how he didn't start the season at 6, and now he seems to be very comfortable. Yeah,
look, and the thing about that is I think part of that was he needed time in the Penrith system to understand the way they played. And Ivan Cleary spoke about that at the beginning of the season and how they would, he needed time and they would try and bring him through. And he is a very young footballer, so there was no expectation he was going to pick it up straight away. But he has picked it up and I think he's really fitted in well to replace Luai. And I just, you look at the way they are defending, you look at their attitude in their defence, the way that they're working with each other. The story today with Dean Ritchie wrote in the telly about how after the loss in Bathurst against Newcastle, down 24-0 at half-time, ended up losing, I think it was 25-6, Ivan basically challenged them and he said, are you hungry enough? Which is a bit of a slap in the face. And he had probably, I think, been patient up until that point, but they weren't improving enough. And I think he recognised that their attitude was probably what needed to change.
Well, it's got to be difficult. You win 4 comps in a row. You make 5 grand finals in a row. It's got to be hard to stay up for that long.
Well, it is. The one thing I've maintained about that, though, is this Penrith side, a lot of the players – look, and to be fair, they've lost some of them. Crichton, they've lost. Luai, they've lost. But a lot of those players came through the Penrith junior systems where they were winning premierships every season.
Yep.
And a lot of clubs talk about the burden of expectation, the burden of carrying the premiership favourites and the reigning premiers tag through a season, and it does affect a lot of those teams. And Melbourne, the most consistent team from the past 15 years, 20 years, to be fair, they have had trouble back. I think they've only backed up once and defended their premiership. So, a lot of times we've seen Melbourne have gone premiership, no premiership, like the year-on, year-off type situation. So it is difficult, but these players are used to it. They've gone through their whole junior careers doing that. So
they always say winning's a habit, right? And what you're saying is it's been a habit through their whole junior.
Yeah, and so they haven't felt that weight of expectation.
Interesting.
This year's been different, and I think Ivan he picked the appears that way anyway. He picked the perfect moment to challenge them about their hunger to win another title. Every year in the previous 4, the Penrith have always found a different motivation, a different a way to reset their goals and to maintain that. Yeah, they didn't. I don't know what this year's was, but clearly it wasn't working. That said, the challenge to it almost had an immediate effect. The players today spoke about the fact that they went back to training. At the time, Origin was we were in the midst of Origin, but blokes like Mitch Kenny and Scott Sorensen, basically they took it upon themselves to raise the tempo at training, to raise the intensity and the application. Now, what's I think really positive about that is that those players are not necessarily the guys you would have relied upon.
Yep.
It would have been an Isaiah Yeo and a Nathan Cleary in a perfect world who were not off playing Origin. But in this case, I think it's been really healthy for Penrith because those other players who Nathan Ivan probably expected to take that step up in leadership was basically forced upon them. And they responded to it really well, and the team responded around them, and so they've come through. So they're in sixth spot now. They do have, though, I'll say that they've got to finish. I don't think they can finish top four is the big thing. So they've got in their last 6 games, they've got to play the top 3 teams: Canterbury, Canberra, and Melbourne. So they have to, I think, win 5 of the 6 to finish, to give themselves a fair crack at finishing top 4. 5 of the 6 against, which includes 3 of the top 3 teams. I think it's going to make it a tough run. Now, they are a team capable of doing that. They have the talent to do that. But that means they're going to have to essentially start their finals campaign early. And then you've got to
their last 3 games.
Yeah, their last 3 games of those 3 teams. Okay. So that means instead of having a 4-week finals campaign to win the comp, they're going to have a 7-week campaign to win the comp. Now, look, they've just come through 7 in a row, so it does help. They can prove to themselves that they've done it. But this 7's got to have to be against the best teams in the competition, and they're going to have to carve their way through. So it's going to be tough for them.
The only reverse of that is playing those last 3 teams is generally, when you're outside the 4 and you're trying to get in, the teams above you aren't losing. So if they're playing those teams, there's a chance for those teams to drop and then for them to go up.
Yeah.
So that's a good advantage for them.
Yeah, and the thing about that, although they won't be challenging for one of their spots, in all likelihood.
Maybe
Warriors.
They're not playing the Warriors.
They're not
playing the Warriors.
So they could take the Warriors. They'll be looking at the Warriors' 4th spot now is where they'll be going. Look, yes, they can do it. The thing is, which is also in their favour, is if depending on how the next 4 or 5 weeks pan out, those top teams, which often happens, if you get to the point where you feel secure in your top 4 and you feel like you're fairly safe to finish there, what they will do is they will load up the training load during the week, give you a couple of hard weeks, and then right before the finals start, just pull back. No, they just pull back on the training and really freshen you up. So basically what they do is they're topping up their petrol tank as far as their fitness goes. Now, and some teams, Melbourne have been past masters at doing it. Penrith themselves have copied it. Penrith probably won't be able to do that if they're going to be fighting for a top 4 side because they want to take that. They don't want to take that risk of heading into a finals camp or the last 5 weeks or 3 weeks of a finals camp preparation with heavy legs.
The thing is, Kenty, they may have already done that because Cleary and the other Origin players had a rest and came back this week. Yeah. So whether or not they can last that whole time is another thing.
Yeah, we wait and see. But I'm excited to have a look at it, though. They're well down. It's funny, last year, they're on 9 wins now. Last year, they were on 13 wins at this point of the season. The year before, they're on 13 wins. So they're 4 games behind, or 4 wins behind where they were the past 2 seasons. 2022 and 2021, they had 18 and 17 wins at this point of the season. So are we starting to see a little bit of a drop-off? Like if you looked at that year on year, yes, they're certainly going south. But, well, we wait and see.
Very good. Mate, let's talk about the other top teams because they all flexed their muscle on the weekend, didn't they?
Yeah.
Canberra and Canterbury.
Canberra and Canterbury, 1 and 2
Warriors,
at the moment.
But,
we'll
talk about that in a minute.
But they both had particularly strong second halves. I think both teams, their first half were a little bit average. Manly came up, they turned up to play against Canterbury, but just couldn't maintain the rage for long enough. I thought the Knights just were. I don't want to say lucky against Canberra, but Canberra were just probably a little bit. I think they just were trying to sort of mail it in a little bit in that first half until they got a bit of a shock at 18-all in the second. I think it was 18-all in the second half.
They scored right in the half time.
So that knocked them back into shape. But both teams, I really did like the fact that they were able to come out in that second half in both games and be so strong and comprehensive. Like they went on a bit of a run, to be fair. The problem for both coaches is they're playing patchy football from half a game of good football, half a game of poor football. They've got to get that fixed. But that's what they'll be working on between here and the rest of the season. But the Raiders are. Look, I went back the last time they made the grand final, which is 2019. They were in third spot at this point of the year.
Okay,
so they have improved on that. I still think their defence has got to start getting a little bit more consistent. Canterbury are working very hard on their defence. They've probably got to go a little bit more attack and get that working. It's sort of a bit clunky at the moment. They're still trying to figure out how to get Lockie Galvin to work through that. But that'll come in time, and we just got to get there before the final start as far as Canterbury is concerned.
Well, your stats on Penrith indicate that the team in the last 5 years, is that right? Last 5 years has come from, last 5 years has been one of the top two teams.
Well, the Premiers have, yeah. The Premiers, have, if you go back, and it depends on how far back you've got to go, because the Roosters were, 18 and 19 Premiers. They are a top three in those seasons. So you got to be there. That's the big thing, and that's why all this is so important. And it's funny when people talk about the competition being too long. Like, this is part of the reason. Part of the reason it is so long. And the NRL looked at when the NRL had a different head office, and they sort of knew a little bit more about what was going on. They were able to explain this. But part of the reason they used, whether you agree with it or not, is a different thing. But part of the reason they used to justify the length of the season was because when, for example, Origin is such a disruptive part to the season, that the fact that the season is so long allows you enough time to get back on track and get things going again.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah, okay. So whereas if you go back to and I've heard people talk about having a 15-game season or whatever and just radically reducing it, there's every chance that they want to go back to like a 20 or 19-game season. That would make the Origin period have far more significance, the impact it has on teams, because you've got less games to pull back. If you lose all your Origin players through that period, drop a couple of games. By the time you got them back, you've got less games you can win to actually compensate for that. So that's been one of the reasons they've always offered to why the season's so long. It does take a toll. That's why they've got to have a bigger squad. I kind of like the attrition, and I like the longer season. But it's a funny way to go.
What the hell do we do on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night if it's only 15 weeks long?
That's it. And
what do we watch?
Well, mate, it just makes the summer too long. You know what I mean? It just does. And the other reason I don't think they'll ever really look at it, and they won't talk about this, but can you imagine bringing out let's say a 20-game rugby league season, and AFL's got let's say a 26-round season, whatever they play. I don't even know what they play, to be honest, but they generally come in, they start about the same time, finish about the same time. You don't want to be giving AFL 5 or 6 rounds or 5 or 6 weekends.
Or rugby union.
Yeah, when it finally puts its head above water again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when you don't want to be giving your opposition, and that's the complexity of all this that I think a lot of people don't quite appreciate, is every time they say, okay, this is what happens in the NFL, this is what happens for example, in the English Premier League, when they have their the UEFA Club Championship and things like that, they suspend the home and away rounds. But in those codes, they are the dominant football code. In America, like Major League Soccer is the other football code. It's nothing. There's rugby union in England, but it's nowhere near as big as soccer. Across Europe, other rugby or other football codes are nowhere near as big. Here we have certainly the two biggest sport in Australia, AFL and NRL.
Undoubtedly.
Okay, and they're the ones that attract the most money.
Yeah.
So the NRL has to factor that into its strategies about how it goes forward. And
never giving a sucker an even break, right?
Well, why do you just want to, okay, we're going to shorten the season by 6 or 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Rest the players, and there's 6 or 8 weeks that AFL go, you beauty. And that's we've already seen the NRL use it the other way with their Las Vegas round. They've gone a week early, round 0, got away there, and basically just had that entire media landscape just saturated with NRL talk.
Yep.
You could hardly get an AFL story in the paper, or certainly one that's interesting, and certainly nothing that matches what's happening in Las Vegas. And that's all the sort of corporate stuff that goes on behind the scenes, which it makes this whole idea about shortening the season a bit. I think it's a bit I think it's just a media story. And
well, if you look at the Premier League now, right, the Premier League runs from August to May, really.
Yeah.
Right, and they don't have any weekends off except for international football. And the Champions League plays midweek.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's It's the same here now. The NRL basically runs from February through to November, really, because October is when the grand final is, but then you have the November 1.
The rep games.
You know what I mean? And the November 1 kind of,
all
circus
all
or whatever
trade
you want to
talk
call
and
it.
all the
You know
rest
what I
of
mean?
it. Yeah.
So cricket's recognised that. Cricket only really is played in December and January.
Yeah.
Now. Their season is shortened.
Yeah, and I think that's great.
Yeah, happy with that. Very good. Mate, talk to me about what Cronulla have to do now. You know, Cronulla have a bit of an easy draw.
Yeah.
Or an easier draw than those top teams. Do you think they'll sneak into that 4th position in front of the Warriors?
I think, Cronulla have got it's a funny one. They've got a really easy draw home. They've got one top 8 team to play.
Doggies?
The Doggies,
Yep.
okay. And I think that's the last round of the round, second last round. But all the rest are all the teams that are below them, okay, and aren't in the 8. So, and some of the teams are already pretty much out of finals calculation. So whether they can get themselves up mentally to do that remains to be seen. So you have to think that Cronulla are probably going to take the Warriors' spot, given the Warriors' troubles and how they're battling a little bit at the moment. Mm-hmm. But the problem is Cronulla were terrible against the Rabbitohs on the weekend. And basically got outplayed everywhere except the scoreboard.
Yeah.
So I just don't know where Cronulla are going. They're a funny side. They're highly inconsistent at the moment. I think they're a little bit. I think a couple of players in the side, key players in the side, are a little bit sensitive and a little bit too reactive to outside pitches, and their focus is not entirely on what do I need to do this week, how do we need to win the game. It's how do I shut these people up?
Yeah,
and how do I navigate through this narrative around the game and around our performance, around my performances, and they certainly seem to be troubled by that at different times. I think it's not something that they want to admit to, but Cronulla, they're just struggling in that area. Craig Fitzgibbon has been battling this all season. That's the other part. They've had a couple of good weeks here and there, but essentially their problems is the same problem now as it was back at the beginning, and they haven't really addressed it. They haven't really improved on it. They have moments, they have flashes, they have periods in games.
They probably had a weight of expectation too, because everybody thought they were going to challenge for minor premiers. I thought.
Well,
they were up there.
Well, they're certainly top 4 was considered, but the fact is, you've got to deal with expectation. Look what's happening in Canberra now. They're starting to get expectation put on them. Canterbury's had expectation. Okay, now they didn't come into the season as the laydown was there to be leading, to be minor premiers, but halfway through the season, the way they were playing, then they obviously rattled the cage a little bit with the Lockie Galvin signing, which has made everybody take an interest and have an opinion, but has, by doing so, raised expectation. You've got to do that. You've got to accept that that's going to be part of it. For Cronulla to be able to say, oh, we're struggling a little bit with that, well, mate, you're just not a finals contender if that's the case. Just
on yesterday's Canterbury game, geez, that crowd looked good. I mean, that stadium is phenomenal.
It is brilliant when the Bulldogs are humming, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. They are into it. Good on the fans.
And the Bulldogs fans, to be fair, you'd have to argue that they're the best in the NRL.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Just the fact that so many get out. Like some of the other teams, they'll want a big crowd, and they'll get to a certain crowd, but then the fans go, oh, there are too many there today, I'm not going. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the crowd, it's always like there's this soft cap on the crowd. It'll only get so big because then the size of the crowd will actually turn people off. The Bulldogs have gone the other way. They are really, they are turning their games into an event. And if it's a bit of a tough watch if you're opposition, to be fair. But if you're a Bulldogs fan and you just get on the bus and off you go with the rest of the crowd, it's pretty special to watch.
Yeah, very good. Mate, Cronulla played South on the weekend. It was a bit of a dog of a game, as predicted by yourself. Yeah. Lewis Dodd got hooked. Is that the end for him now?
I think it is.
Look, in the NRL?
Well, certainly at South. The problem with Lewis Dodd when he got hooked, I think it was 14-8 when he got hooked. South was behind.
68 minutes.
12 minutes to go. this is the issue. There's 12 minutes to go. They're behind 14-8, so they've got to manage the rest of that game, and they've probably got a couple of cracks at like proper cracks at trying to win the game. And Bennett took off his halfback. He obviously believes he was not capable of doing what needed to be done in that final 12 minutes to win the game. That's the issue. And yes, he gave him a game. Now, why? I think it's irrelevant what happened in the first 68 minutes or what Bennett saw that he didn't like, because the fact is he didn't trust him to get the job done. Replacing a halfback with 12 minutes to go when you're behind by 6 points.
In what is the key position in a team?
Well,
right?
that's it. He's the guy. He's the one that you want the ball in the hands. He's the one you want doing the job. And Bennett didn't think he could do it. So I think it's the end of Lewis Dodd. Look, there's been a...
Bennett didn't sign him. So what does that say about... Well, did he?
Well, the argument is this. I've heard Bennett denies off the record, or privately to people, that he wanted him. He denies having an interest in him. Blake Solly, I know for a fact, tells people that when Mark Ellison was in England to negotiate with him, he had a conversation with Bennett, who was not the coach at the time, but was on his way to being the coach, who said, don't leave England without him. So that's coming from Blake Solly. So I'd love to get the pair of them in a room and say, well, one of you is not telling the truth. But that won't happen. They'll avoid that. But, yeah, certainly, look, it would make sense that Bennett, in hindsight, looked at it and thought, he's not up to it. Bennett's a very, very good judge of a player. Like there are very few players that are coaches or people around the game, to be honest, who have this ability to look at a player and tell you, he'll make it, he won't make it. Or he'll get this far. He won't represent, but he'll be a good club player, whatever. And Bennett is he's got one of those eyes.
Well, Blake Solly was once touted as the man to take over the NRL, wasn't he?
Yeah. I don't think he will be.
You don't think that's...
No, I think the next NRL CEO will be Icon.
There you go.
Yeah.
Not yourself? That'd be good.
Won't be me, mate.
Okay.
No, won't be me.
Did you see Wayne Bristol? Oh, it's just back to that. Let's backtrack that. Why do you say it's Icon?
Because he is the perfect fit for it. He is an ex-player. He's played Origin. He's played for Australia. He's won premierships. That's not a necessity, but it looks good for the game because he knows the game. And he does know the game. And then the job he's just doing, the job he did with me on 360 for a decade, I thought was the best I've seen. And now he's doing a great job running the Queensland Rugby League.
And he knows everything from grassroots to elite performance.
He knows the landscape. Well, we do disagree on grassroots.
Yeah, we know that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
but he's aware of it.
Well, he knows it.
We have a difference of opinion on it. He knows.
Well, we had a different conversation off the camera. I'll say that.
Okay. Very good.
But anyway, but I just think he's ideal for it. And I think once Abdo goes, the one thing he's not, Abdo is a great workhorse for Peter V'landys. And I would say Icon's more his own man.
So not a yes man.
He's far from that.
Okay.
No, and he's got the intel. He doesn't need to be.
Yep.
So I think he'd be great for it.
Think I'll go for the under. Over.
What's up, over?
Nah, I gotta take the under there. Over.
What do you mean, over? Over.
Mate, it's PointsBet's 5 for 25. Answer 5 questions,
Get $25 odds.
fast and easy.
Over.
That's all there is to it? Over?
Yeah, mate.
More or less.
That's built different. You forgot to say over.
Over.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Did you see, just last thing on the Rabbits, you see Wayne Bennett's comments about the spoon?
Well, there was no comments about the spoon. Yeah. Look, Wayne has that ability. He's been around the game that long. I knew this question was coming up, is what he said, and I'm not going to answer it. And he got up and walked out. Look.
Well, they're currently running last on for and against.
They are
16.
last. It's fascinating. He's a chance of winning the spoon, like a real chance now. The Titans, they have to play the Titans. The Titans, Rabbitohs have got to buy still to come.
Yep.
Which will put them ahead of the Titans.
Yep. Onto 18.
Yep. But if the Titans beat them, because they've got to play each other, then that puts it back in the picture. Parramatta obviously got it off. They got sort of gave them a little bit of a buffer with their 2 points on the weekend. But it's really fascinating. The two of the on the weekend, Des Hasler became the 6th coach to coach 500 games. Now, 3 of those coaches are still coaching in the NRL: Wayne Bennett, Ricky Stewart, and Craig Bellamy. But it's a magnificent and it's significant. But here we are, 21 rounds in, and the bottom two teams are coached by two of the top 6 all-time coaches.
Yeah.
And they're both in contention to win the finals, to win the wooden spoon. So I don't know which way it'll go. I think there's some like signs in the. I'd rather be Des Hasler now than Wayne Bennett. I'd rather have Des Hasler's team for the rest of the season.
Well, he's got the
Wayne
cattle
Bennett.
still, doesn't he? Although he's got some injuries, he's got more cattle.
Well, they've
than,
both got injuries. You don't
yeah.
get down that low on the table without injuries.
Yeah.
But Wayne's got more. Wayne, they're going to fight the Jack Whiten challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's. I think hopefully I think that's a fair call. I think they should win that. But the thing is, the Titans are, I think, just going better than the Rabbitohs at the moment. Even when they've lost games, they've lost through bad luck or bad execution, but they're sort of there or thereabouts. Souths are just trying to get through the end of the season. Which is no fault of Bennett or the players. They're just so busted with injuries that they just know that they're taking pea shooters to high noon.
The interesting thing is the Titans play the Tigers in the last round.
Well,
Spoon Bowl too.
I don't know if the Tigers will be in it. Actually, I think the Tigers will be. They'll be clear of the spoon.
Okay.
Yeah, they won't make the 8, but they'll be clear of the spoon. It's the bottom two teams. Parramatta, I think, have been playing really well. That win on the weekend. Look, yes, they got lucky at the end there. It's sad. It's hard as it was for the Broncos to take. It was the right decision. But I like the way Parramatta are operating. I think the signs that of what Riles is doing is starting to be seen.
Yeah, I'm not convinced.
Why?
I'm not convinced. I think it's a bit trendy to get on the bandwagon. I'm not saying you're following trends. You never do. You set them, of course. But
No, but
I just think everybody's – mate, they're coming second last.
Look, it's easy for people to jump on that bandwagon because a lot of people don't really know the game as such, okay, without trying to sound
Condescending.
condescending, okay. But what I like about the Parramatta is forget that, yes, it is. You're kind of right. People are going, saying the rap roll. But when you watch particularly the way they defend, okay, if you watch the way they're beginning, the Parramatta team on the weekend would beat the Parramatta team from round 2 by 30 points because they are defending as a unit. They are moving in the same direction when they need to do that. Okay,
Teams aren't ploughing through the middle like they were.
Well,
at the
they
start of the
were,
season.
and what they were doing though is they were running plays against Parramatta early in the season. One defender would go left and the other would go right, and they just go straight through the middle. Whereas now, even if one makes a mistake, the guy on outside him goes with him, and which is a way you can cover your mistakes. Just a really simple rule. Do what the guy inside you is doing, whether it's up and slide or up and in or whatever you want to do. Do what he's doing, and that minimises the chance of a mistake. Parramatta are doing that. The other thing is Mitch Moses came back in the team, and they have had long periods without him, and they're just a different team with him in the side. And that's when Mitch was hurt at the beginning of the season. We thought, okay, well, Dylan Brown's just signed a massive deal at Newcastle. We'll get a chance to see what he's like. He didn't. I don't think he really aimed up Dylan Brown.
No.
And then they lost. Mitchell came back. Suddenly they transitioned straight away into a different looking team. Then they lost him again through the Origin. Okay, when he got hurt Origin training. And then he came back on the weekend, and once again they just looked better.
Yeah.
And they did it this time without Dylan Brown outside Mitch Moses.
Newcastle
must be sitting here right now thinking, hey, what have we done here?
We bought the wrong bloke.
Oh, they definitely built the wrong bloke.
You know what I love
choice.
about Mitchell Moses is in the highlight package when they pull back and they have the long shot and you see he's kicking.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. I mean, he's got the best kick in the game by far.
He's got a great kicking game. He knows what the kick is required for
Every time.
at that point in the game.
Every time.
And he's got to, and that's part of the reason why he's so important to Parramatta and why his impact has been so profound with what he's done there. But the fact is, they are a side that is like you can just see what Riles is starting to do.
Yep.
How much improvement they got, I don't know. They are certainly coming from a long way back. There was only 3 years ago they were in the grand final.
Yeah.
But their drop off was pretty severe. But they are. Yeah, they're a side that's showing shoots of being a good team.
What does that loss on the weekend do for the Broncos' confidence, do you think? They can't make the top 4 now.
Well, they kind of can, but I think it knocks them around. Of course it knocks them around. The way that happened, they were patchy against the Eels. I think there's more chance of Penrith going past them than the Broncos getting there. The thing about the Broncos getting there, is the Warriors are a concern now because of what they got beat by the team that was running last on the weekend. Okay, they've lost their halfback, they've lost their front rower. They are trying to find their way and salvage what's there, and they don't have. They've got what I think they're 4 points clear of the Broncos now.
Yep.
Okay, with 6 games to play. They can probably scrape through. They've got some tough games coming up though. So, but given where they're at, it's line ball whether the Warriors make top 4, and you've got 2 teams behind them, Parramatta and Penrith, who are just both gunning for that spot.
Brisbane and Penrith.
Brisbane and Penrith.
Kenty, do you think you can have too many playmakers? Do you think that's Brisbane's issue at the moment? They've got Walsh, they've got Hunt at hooker, and they've got Marm, and they've got Reynolds.
You can't have too many. You can't have too many if there's a clear delineation of
who's in charge.
Who's in charge, and if he's not there, who's next? But look, you rely on Hunt as your dummy half, and you hear this often with the good sides that they'll get Benji Marshall on one side and Scott Prince on the other, both calling the ball. You had Daly Cherry Evans on one side and Kieran Foran on the other, both calling the ball. That's where you need your halfback to make the right call. That's so it starts there, and Hunt certainly has got the experience to do that. He's not a regular hooker, as we know, but certainly he's got the game experience to know that. He's got, as a halfback, he's got the ability to know what numbers are, to know how to count and see which way.
I just wonder where Walsh fits in because the last kind of 10 minutes he really took control of that game, I thought. Yeah,
but he took control of it with his running rather than his organising.
Okay.
And he's just got to be in position. He's got to, you kind of, wherever Walsh is where you're going to go, where the ball, you think, if you're defending the Broncos, in the last 10 minutes of a game against the Broncos with the scoreline what it was, you're looking for where Walsh is to see which way the ball's going to go.
Yeah.
So that's just natural. That happens. But it's not really Walsh's position to call. He can help call plays. Billy Slater was great at it, and some other fullbacks have been great at it. But with those other guys there, you tend to hope that we'll trust in them to get the decision right first.
So just on those playmakers now, Melbourne seem to have an issue, a big issue with Jahrome Hughes now out for 6 weeks.
Yeah, I don't think it's too bad. They'll bring in Jonah Pezzett more than likely to play there. And what it'll do is, it's not ideal, but it will rest him. He'll keep putting some work through his legs a little bit, and he'll come back in time for the finals.
Okay.
So
who'll fill that role?
Probably Jonah Pezzett.
Okay, Pezzett.
Oh, it could be Wishart. Could be Wishart. Depends which way. Wishart's been so good off the bench.
He's better at 14,
do you keep him there? Well, you bring Pezzett straight in, and then you don't have to make too many changes.
Yeah.
But Wishart, he could argue that he's earned the right to start in the 7 jersey. So. Look, not for me to tell Craig Bellamy what to do.
Of course. On Thursday, you broke the story that Munster looks to be going to Perth, and it looks like that's come true.
Well, look, it's certainly been discussed now, and it's starting to get out, yes. But officially, Perth can't speak to him yet, but we know that means nothing in the way the rugby league works. And but more importantly, like I said last Thursday, is that Melbourne seem to be open to allowing him to releasing him to go only to Perth, not to go to any other team. But if Perth put an offer to him, my understanding is that they will seriously consider letting him go.
And it'll be a good audition for Pezzett the next few weeks anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's it from us. Kenny, you just wanted to do a quick shout out or recognition of Desi. Obviously, 500 games.
Yeah, just well done, Des. Look, he's a crazy professor. He's not as crazy as people think, but he's just. I think he deserves better than what he's getting this year, Des. And I know, I don't think he'll survive the end of next year, but I wish he would. I hope he would. But well done. 500 games is in this modern competition, and
it's a slog.
It's an impressive effort. Look, they're looking to sack you at every opportunity now. So for someone to get to 500 games, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, very good. I saw something online with Matt Ballon, who had a video of him, and Desi was on top of him and teaching him how to wrestle. I thought it was fantastic. Anyway, check that out if you get a chance. All right, that's it for us today, Kenty. Until tomorrow, thanks very much.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.